Welcome to the Hot Seat. I'm Taylor Mankle, joined this week with Malik Bruton. Malik Bruton, the president of the Black Students Alliance. Glad to have you here to be able to put you in the hot seat, get some good questions, get some good conversation going about some important stuff here on campus. Let's start off, though. Just tell us a little about yourself. What's your year in school, your major, stuff like that?
Well, I'm a junior, majoring in speech communications, minor in African American Studies and Criminal Justice, from the great city of Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri. All right. So why did you decide, coming from Kansas City, why did you decide to come to Iowa State?
Well, the many opportunities that Iowa State has for its students. I came into Iowa State being an engineering major, and I heard the career fair, the job placement rates, everything that sounded really too good to be true, so I had to come check it out. Also, it's not too far from home, so it's kind of like the perfect place for that.
Sure. And what's your favorite part of this university?
The campus. A lot of other campuses that I know of have a more structural feel to it, a lot of buildings, a lot of concrete, a lot of cement. But Iowa State has a very well-placed aesthetic and feel to it, so I like it, especially around the spring. Even in the fall, the winter is something else to be talked about. But
not a big winter fan, but let's get into the juicy stuff. How did you start getting involved with the Black Students Alliance?
Well, I came in freshman year wanting to be a part of a club with other people that identified similar to me, and BSA happened to be that club. I liked the people that was in it, the motives, the mission statement behind BSA, and then everyone there brings you into a family atmosphere. And that's what many students look for when they come to college, because they're being away from home, many for the first time for a prolonged amount of time. So this allows individuals like myself to have some place when they're going through a tough time, or you bombed a test that you didn't really think you was going to bomb, but you got a group of individuals that is your support and backbone here at Iowa State. So,
and being one of the leaders of the Black Students Alliance, tell us kind of what are the core values of the organization?
Well, we believe in academic community, social and political action. Is pretty much our four pillars. We believe in being academically inclined, pushing our members to be the best, because we're here to get an education first and foremost. And then also behind community development, community service, being seen in our community, helping clean up, helping to do other things of that nature. Also political action things, being aware and being conscious of the legislation and the rules and laws that we abide by as citizens. Also being cognizant of it, kind of helpful now that it's election season, so being knowledgeable of the candidates' policies and things of that nature, and other things like that. So that's pretty much what we stand for.
Sure. And as the president of this organization, I assume you get a lot of questions about your organization and what you guys feel on certain topics. So I'm going to start warming up that seat, make it a hot seat here. We're going to talk about some of the big political, social problems that we see a bunch of, as well as the big policies on this political season in general. We'll start off with that one. This segment's called Devil's Advocate, so don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just playing the part. But what do you say, or what does your organization believe when people say Donald Trump will make America great again?
Well, first you have to digest that. But it's a lot of people's perspectives in which they're coming from that. Some people look at certain policies and certain political views that he has as being the right way to go, and not really taking into consideration other ideas and other ways to go about those things. So you have to break that kind of down to them. It's like, well, you may think, one of his most absurd allegations is that to build a wall. So you have to let people think about what all goes into building a wall, what would be the consequences, things of that nature. Kind of just helping people to sit through and think, because sometimes the first kind of explanations for something, or the first idea or answer to something may sound great, but after you sit down and think and digest that, that's not the best appeal. But overall, there are individuals that believe Trump would be the best candidate. Some people don't feel that Hillary would be the best candidate. Right now, it's just kind of however you see fit for that, because there are plus and minuses to both candidates.
And with the BSA, you guys are really in the mold of a lot of advocacy, a lot of social advocacy. And with that, some more devil's advocate on top of that. What do you say to people that think white privilege isn't real?
Well, first off, you have to bring up examples of white privilege. How you could, the most notorious thing that's going on right now is the privilege of being able to be stopped by a cop and basically go about your day. Privileges in all types of mannerisms, whether that's in education, whether that's in traffic, whether that's in the store. When you can go in the store, they'll offer you the best supplies, whatever you need. But as a minority individual, if you walk into the same place, they'll try to offer you the lowest value, although your bank account can match anyone else's in the store. It's just helping people be able to see that, even all the way to Band-Aids. When we see Band-Aids, it'll match someone lighter skin more than it'll match someone like me. You could tell I'm wearing a Band-Aid versus some other people you can't tell they're wearing a Band-Aid. So there's different privileges that serve to the majority that most people don't even sit and think about, that they think most minority individuals are just complaining or, you know, not really taking into consideration certain things. But you have to sit there and, again, kind of walk people through that, because as long as people don't see something that doesn't directly affect them, they're going to think it's not a problem until you sit down and explain to them, like, this is the problem at hand, and then things tend to click where they may.
And you kind of mentioned it, Malik. What, another devil's advocate, what do you say to people that think the police are always in the right?
I would say when it comes to looking at the different situations of police brutality that were being shown in the media, we have to look at what the media is showing us, what the officers are saying, the stories and allegations that follow the altercation that led to, you know, an individual's death or individual getting beat up, is that the police are human beings when it all comes down to it. There's no human being that I know of that's perfect, that makes the right decision all the time. And it's hard when the police officer doesn't admit to the wrong that they may do or anything that they did not do the right way or went down the right path for. But it's just having people to be able to see that, you know, when it comes to the perspective of another individual, is that necessarily someone could be in the right, someone could be in the wrong. And to be honest, when it all comes down to it, it's all about perspectives. If you do not have any minority friends, no one in your family is married to someone who's a minority or a person of color, then you can easily side, and if all your family members are police officers, you can easily side with a police officer, because when they take the badge off at the end of the day, they're people just like everyone else. But on the side of a person of color, if you don't have anyone who's a police officer in your family and then people who are close to you are getting hurt, then it's easy to have that perspective as well. So it's really all about perspectives and understanding each other's perspective to be able to really break down this problem and move further. And
another very perspective-based question, what would you say or what would you argue to people that think racism is extinct, racism is gone in America?
Listen to Trump. The things that he says is just, it's not normal. It's not actually helpful to America. How he explicitly states his dislike for immigrants, although in a class that I'm taking now, most Americans embrace immigrants coming into our country. That's a diaspora that he's, you know, latching onto and gratifying on that stereotypical scene of, oh, immigrants and things of that nature. But I would say listen to Trump and hear the things that he's saying, his anti-views versus certain individuals, and then also look at the disparity of the prison and arrest here in Iowa amongst black individuals in contrast to other individuals of another color. When they sit down and look at all the facts and all the experience that other people have that you just don't have with other people of color, then it says that racism still exists. It's really just institutionalized to where it looks like on the basis you don't see people walking down the street, which still actually happens when people walk down the street and change sides of the street because they see a black individual or something like that walking down the street. But when you really listen to some of the things people say, it's there. It's really subtle. It may be said with a smile, but when it all comes down to it, it's a racist and really a pessimistic comment that shouldn't be said to anybody, whether you're black, white, Native American, anything of that nature. So.
Agreed. Now, what are you and your organization currently doing with the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, we had a National Blackout Day that we participated in. We plan on having a meeting that will discuss Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. And it's really a pun because everyone seems to want it to be a fight, which essentially it should be the same fight against the injustice of the killing of individuals, which a Black Lives Matter individual will be in attendance. We also work with the Committee on Lectures to work on having a conversation on safety and justice and students of color in America. That will be held in the Great Hall November 7th. And that would just get the conversation going about how things are happening in America and how that affects students right here in our community. So someone that you may call a friend that's a person of color may be experiencing something tragic that happened when, a national shooting happened or anything of that nature. And also to help, also the Blue Lives Matter movement came out of the Dallas shooting. All Lives Matter has always been there. Really just to sit down, have everyone come together is like, we shouldn't be fighting each other. This essentially shouldn't be a fight at all. This should be just us banding together to be able to break down the issue at hand, which is the mistreatment of people of color by a vast disparity on one hand, because of course there are individuals who are white that are subject to police brutality. There are other individuals that have that, but at a disparity, it has been a concentration on individuals who are African or African American. So.
And at times, this university, Iowa State University, has kind of come under fire for not being multiculturally well-rounded. What are your and your organization's thought on this problem here at Iowa State?
Personally, coming into Iowa State my freshman year, there wasn't really a big push for diversity and inclusion, being able to keep multiple identities involved and shown in the university. I feel like a pivotal moment for that was the Trump rally last year, when individuals of the Students Against Bigotry had that experience. Thankfully, no one got overly harmed or no one passed away, but at least the university put in plans to act upon that. There are still areas of growth. There are still areas for improvement, but I salute the university for making those steps and those strides and adding a diversity and inclusion position, Dr. Stewart's position, and also, having more of an inclined ear to students, because that was an experience that most students should never have to go through. Going through such a concentrated racial, it's just baffling that that could happen. And most people, again, going back to another question, racism is dead. Well, how do you explain situations like that where students aren't being rowdy, but they're just stating that this man's viewpoints are not well off? But I salute the university for doing that, adding certain things, but again, there's still a long ways to go. Also, there are students on this campus that don't really understand people of color, don't really understand how they go about different things. You will have people who have certain comments about, why do they, someone who's, had a few Puerto Rican friends that were speaking, and they were speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, so I was just sitting there, but I mean, they were talking. But as they were talking, someone made a comment, was like, why they're so loud? It's like, that's them, that's how they speak, that's how they communicate. It's just a lot of people don't understand that, this is their culture, so this is how people communicate. No matter what color you are, you have a way in which you communicate, you have your own culture. But overall, student population wise, I don't think that's really understood yet. But again, we're working with that university, working with professors to also help move that, working with staff, faculty, other administrators to be able to help push that into students to be able to open up and to let individuals be themselves. Because again, Iowa State should be an inclusive university all in all.
And directly correlating with that, being at a university that is so really basically ingrainedly white, there's so many white people that go here, what would you share, what is your organization sharing to all the white people that go to this university on how to be a part of the different cultural and social movements like the Black Lives Matter movement, or to fight against these and accept different and all cultural values?
First off, we invite all members to our meeting. We like to really emphasize that we are the Black Student Alliance. We're not a union, we're not a coalition, we're an alliance, because we understand that together we can make any dream come true, any movement, anything that we want to see passed, we can make it come true together, regardless of what race or ethnicity that you like to, that you identify as. But apart from our meetings, we like to tell individuals that you have to make whatever issue at hand your issue as well. Like I stated earlier, a lot of people feel like, well, since I don't identify as a person of color, it is not really a big deal. But understand that, we've, fought and, clawed to try to build, a country where we can all live and all do what we need to do and chase that, chase the prosperity and things that that we want to achieve in our capitalistic environment to be able to achieve greatness. But again, you got to see that these issues that we have, racism, different prejudiceness, things of that nature, that has to be an issue that you care about as well. And to help you care about that is to understand that, you like having friends that are people of color. You like, watching the basketball team, you like watching the football team, like those are people of color. Although they are athletes, pushing to, go not only to be the best in college, but beyond, but they are, a lot of them are people of color. So, to understand that these are the issues that they face, the people that you touch, that you hug, that you, sit down and study with, that they're going through these things, you shouldn't want to have to go through that. And if you don't see that as a problem, then you have to see that as a problem to be like that, basically.
Absolutely. And for the good people out there watching this, why don't you tell them how to become involved with the BSA?
Well, you can see us on the student organization's website. We meet Thursdays, bi-weekly Thursdays, in Carver 305 at 7 p.m. Come out, we talk about a lot of engaging topics, such as the topics that we talked about tonight. But again, we are open arms to anyone. Many people came to our booth at Club Fest, Destination Iowa State. We don't turn anyone down. And this also combats some of the, stereotypical views of African American individuals that, we're painting in this type of light. But come out, see us, get to know us. Again, be part of the family, because again, the only way that we can be better and do better is to support family.
That's a perfect way to end it. Malik Bruton, thanks for your time.
No problem.
Malik Bruton on this week of The Hot Seat.